All right, Newsa-Cast listeners, we have a treat for you. This throwback, it comes from us from April of 2022, and this is LeRoy Butler. What's kind of cool about this throwback is that he really did a huge favor to the Red Smith committee by taking some time out of his busy schedule to come up to Milwaukee. And Joe has a great story. LeRoy Butler, NFL Hall of Famer, Packer Hall of Famer, Packer great. When you hear Green Bay Packers, one of the names that automatically comes to your head. So this is going to be a good throwback. And I'm going to let Joe tell a little bit of a story here.
Yeah, Tosh, it's amazing how this happened. So it was 2022, April of 2022. We all know we came through COVID and stuff was still messed up, and we wanted to do a live show, and we always wanted to have LeRoy Butler. It made sense to have him be the Red Smith winners, the Shields Sports Red Smith winner. So we didn't know LeRoy Butler. We didn't have any contacts or anything, and our group likes to sit around and just kind of throw ideas out there. And the great Nick Salm, who's one of our committee members and started the AYFA, great football coach. Nick's a go-getter. When Nick says something, he just does it. So he's like, well, why don't we just send him an email? And Nick's like, I'll just email him. Like, okay, Nick, go ahead. He emailed LeRoy Butler. Well, sure enough, LeRoy Butler gets back to Nick. They strike up a conversation. Nick talks to him about the Red Smith event, and hey, we'd love to just honor you. It's this night. And LeRoy said, I'd love to get there, but I've got. He's involved in a lot of different things. I mean, we see him in the supermarket. He's got wine. He's involved in 100 different things, and one of the things is a West Coast cooking show. Who knew? But long story short, it worked out where LeRoy, with the help with Nick, I can't stress this enough. Nick literally just held his hand, got him up here, but LeRoy drove up here, met Nick, got here about 10 minutes before he was going to go onto the stage.
Yep.
Came on the stage, gave an absolute dynamic, and we're going to see that with Shane Sparks. Shane and him hit it off. It was one of the best interview conversations that I've ever just been a part of to just see, and that's, I think that comes out in the video. It certainly came out in the room that night, and then knowing that LeRoy needs to get back to Milwaukee for his West Coast cooking show, he didn't just hop out. He stopped and he spent time with all the scholarship winners.
Yeah.
He spent time with JJ Keller and Jim Keller and that whole group. He spent genuine, full attention time and gave us everything he had, and he didn't charge us a nickel for it. He just came literally out of the goodness of his heart, and he believed in what Red Smith is about, and that's just helping kids, helping youth sports. I mean, he'll talk about it. Youth sports obviously was a big part of his life, and that's what we as Red Smith hope to get out of doing the Newsa-Cast, doing these throwbacks, is to bring awareness and to have people just support our mission of just helping kids in our community, northeastern Wisconsin. And LeRoy is a prime example of how to lead from the very top.
And not only did he talk to, JJ Keller and people who were important with the Red Smith, but he also signed kids' interviews as he was walking, kids' programs as he was walking out after the interview. So
absolutely.
He was rushing, but he wanted to make sure that his presence was known and that he was there.
If we didn't just tell that story, there's not one person out there that would think he was in a hurry.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So this is a fantastic throwback.
We had Bill Walton last week. Bill is still talking. I mean, it's still going. I think we're 7-8 days into that, and Bill does keep talking. The message is still there, so you can check that one out. But this one, LeRoy, is a strong message. It's really, really great to just hear from number 36.
Absolutely. Hope you enjoy this one, and continue to follow us and subscribe and listen to more of the content that we'll be pushing out each week.
So with that being said, let's get right to it. Our Shields Nice Guy Award What a career for this guy. Not going to spend a whole lot of time on the intros because you know this guy. Lambeau Leap, Super Bowl champion with the Green Bay Packers, and now we can say an NFL Hall of Famer, one of the all-time greats, LeRoy Butler.
No more, no.
A round of applause
Okay,
for
go
LeRoy
ahead,
Butler.
Go ahead. Have a seat. Thank you. Thank you so much.
First of all, congratulations. We're going to get right to the meat and potatoes on this.
Okay.
You get the call, waiting patiently, National Football Hall of Fame. Do your best in describing what that moment was like and what you remember from that day.
Well, my wife knew, who's here, Genesis Butler. Don't look at her, though. She's really shy. Just look at me. She knew for 2 weeks. And real quick, we went, I do a lot of tours at Packer, at Stadium, at the Packer Hall of Fame. So I'm doing a tour, and we're up there together. It's the Friday before they play San Francisco. So I'm like, where is she? I don't know where she is. She disappeared. So I said, okay, we'll get on with the tour. And then later I saw her, and I now know that she was getting the call, so she knew first. So after the Packers lost, I was very, very upset, as you can understand. And you would think that she would probably tell me then to make me feel better, but nope, she didn't. So, but I'll say this, and I was telling Cassidy, who I work with outside, I know what it feels like when a young lady wants to get proposed to. Every year you're thinking he's gonna propose. Every year, the next year, girl, he's gonna propose this year. It doesn't happen. Now, this didn't happen to me, by the way. I just know what it feels like. Then you give up, and you say, well, he's never gonna do it. We're never getting married. I'm done. And then Charles Woodson is at your door. And you're thinking, no, this is, because as a player, you think about the Super Bowl. You really do. But you think about this is like new territory. And I just remember my mom having a conversation about if this ever happens. She passed away 5 years ago. She was telling me that you're going to represent a lot of people. And I was like, well, what is that? She said, well, being a special needs kid, as me and my wife has a special needs son, and you're thinking that you're alone because your son or daughter may never do the Lambeau Leap. But having a conversation or a paragraph in our house with my son is just like doing the leap. So I represent those people, and then I want to be one of the few living Hall of Famers that lives in the community. So when Nick called me about being here, not only was I here with Mr. Keller, by the way, years ago, we had to make it work. Because I do an online cooking show tonight, I said, I gotta come because it's important for these young men and women to one day do something great. To say, you know, he was a very normal, measured person, and I just appreciate that. So it's a big deal because of when I got that number quickly, they gave me a number 357, and I didn't know what it was. And we were in LA for the Super Bowl, and I said, what is 357? Then that's one of the board members said, well, you know, there's only 362 guys in the Hall of Fame. You're 357, and that's when it hit me. That's when it hit me, and ever since then, it's been amazing to tell the story.
What would you say to your mother if she was here?
Whoa, you're trying to make me cry, right? Well, me and my mom had a very unique relationship. I was a mama's boy. I'm the only one in my sister and 4 brothers, but I was the only one that was disabled. I was the only one in special education. I was the only one that couldn't go to sleepovers, couldn't go to the swimming pool, but I had the same smile. This is a true story. The guy that's doing my bust, not only is it gonna be the most handsome bust ever, but he said, LeRoy, I said, yes, sir. He said, I can't find a picture of you not smiling on the internet. I said, what are you talking about? He said, I've been looking everywhere, and every picture, everywhere, it's always you smiling. I said, I'm a happy young man. He said, but if you smile, it's gonna look like you got brown teeth. I said, that's fine. I just wanted to be a happy person, and the reason why I smiled every day with my mom, being a special needs young man, because I knew how my life was going to end. I knew one day that I was going to do something to be a role model to these men and women growing up. And that's what kept me going through every single day. My teachers were amazing, because I was one of the few kids in the classroom that didn't go to sleepover, but I was never invited because I was disabled. I used to be in the special needs classes. It's just me and my teacher. So if there's any teachers out there, I love and respect you, because I know you don't do it for the money, trust me. But for students like me who have a platform, for you not to thank your teachers, to me, I think we get a little misguided as athletes. We think it was just us. But no, my teachers every single day used to teach me some of the stuff that I needed to apply, so when kids bullied me or picked on me, I used those mechanisms. I would just block it out. It was like a game. Because trust me, when we go to Minnesota, they don't say some nice stuff. I block it out and you just play. So I just appreciate my journey through life, but my teachers were very important, and as was my mom.
Fantastic. You come out of high school, you go to Florida State, you speak about teachers, great coaches. Talk about the impact that Coach Bobby Bowden at Florida State had on you, not only as a player, but as a young man.
You know, Coach Bowden changed my life, because had he been alive, rest in peace to him, he would have been the one inducting me. Now it's going to be my wife, and she told me to say that, by the way. But Coach Bowden to me means a lot. And this is why he means a lot to me. I was a Proposition 48. That means I couldn't go to college because I didn't pass the SAT test. So I'm thinking, well, my life's over because I want to go to the NFL. And I remember Miss Gordon, she was my algebra teacher at Robert E. Lee High School. She filled out the application for me to attend college. It was 6 young men got scholarships. But if you read the fine print, you just can't play your freshman year, but you can come to school. Coach Bowden had 1 home visit, just 1. And I don't know why God chose me, but I don't know why, but he said, I want to go see LeRoy Butler to tell Miss Butler I want to give him a scholarship. Despite we don't care about the Prop 48. I need him to come to my university because he's a special young man. And he drove into the projects and he told my mom that he's going to give me a scholarship. She said, Miss Butler, he won't play his freshman year, but he'll be able to get his GPA up. He'll be able to attend school like everybody else. And I thank Coach Bowden for that, because I don't know what would have happened had I not go to college. And I got letters from all these universities. And then when I was a Prop 48, they all sent letters saying, we can't offer you. Not only did Florida State offer me Coach Bowden, he was an icon, standing in the projects, talking to my mom. That meant a lot to me. So when I got to Florida State, it changed my life. It really did change my life, because I was the first one in my family to ever go to college. So this was new territory. And I remember him saying this. He said, when you get to the university, the name on the front means everything, FSU. But the name on the back means everything. If you get in trouble, if you do something bad, you go to, you get an interception, pick six, okay, it's in the front. But your mom and your family, you got to hold them up to high regards, like with FSU, and I never forgot about that.
1990, you get drafted by the Green Bay Packers, second round pick, coming from Florida, Florida State. You come to Green Bay, Wisconsin. What was that like the first time you fly into the bright lights in the big city of Green Bay?
Now, me and Jim Keller wrote a book about this, From Wheelchair to Lambeau Leap. I remember we were putting the story together. I was telling Jim about this and his wife, Marianne. I remember telling this story. I used to be a Cowboy fan growing up, okay? Down south, we had one channel and it was all Cowboy games, so I was a huge Cowboy fan. So my favorite uncle is sitting in the apartment draft day. He's sitting there with a Walter Payton jersey. He gets up and says, "Go anywhere but the Packers. I don't like the Packers." I'm like, "Unc, I don't choose, but maybe I'm a Cowboy. I don't know." "No, just don't go to the Packers. If they call, just hang up." That ain't happening. God is good. The phone rings. It's Lee Rimmel. We're thinking about selecting you with the 48th pick in the second round. I say, "Well, what's the holdup? Let's go." He said, "Well, you got to talk to Lindy Infante." And I did say, "Who is Lindy Infante?" I didn't know he was the head coach. He gets on the phone. He said, "We're going to select you with the 48th pick in the second round." Changed my life. The Packers saved me because that was my goal growing up. And I remember Lindy saying, "When you come here, it's going to change your life." And he was right. I get on the plane coming in May 2nd, 1990, and May 2nd, it was 17 degrees. When I left Florida, it was like 84. I had on shorts. And me and my girlfriend at the time, not my wife now, but she knows the story. But, hey, I have to live with her. I got to be. It was a guy gets up. I've never seen him before. The pilot comes on. It's a beautiful day in Green Bay. The wind is coming from the north. It's a beautiful 17 degrees. And if you ever seen that movie, The Exorcist, my girl's head turned all the way around. Did he just? I said, "No. The pilot is from the south." He said 77. She said, "Oh, because I didn't bring a coat." Neither did I. Some guy gets up and gives me his coat. His wife gave my girlfriend her. I said, "I love these fans. I love the fans." And when I got there, it was like a Tuesday, I think. It was like 1,000 people there. They had a band going on. They got dogs dressed up in green and gold. They got like posters. I'm like, man, do these people have jobs? What's going on? I'm just a draft pick. What's the big deal? "No, you're a big deal." Then there was a young lady come down next to me. She had a cane and she was walking towards me. She could not have wanted a selfie. They weren't out yet. There was no Siri and none of that. No internet. Sorry, you millennials. No iPhones, none of that. She said, "Listen, you must never lose to the Minnesota Vikings." The next team, she started to change a little bit. I said, "Oh boy, what's going on?" She put her cane right over my heart. "And you better not lose to the Bears." Then she turned around and left. I said, "Wait, ma'am, what about Tampa Bay and Detroit?" She turned around like the Matrix. She said, "You won't have a problem with those two teams. You're good." She was correct, right? And that's when I said, this is the place I wanted to be. 1990, we come over, we get Brett Favre, and then we get Reggie White, the first free agent. Things started to change, the winning culture. And real quick, the last thing, and this is kind of a Matt LaFleur story. When they called up and said, "We just signed a new coach," Mike Holmgren, I had no idea who he was. They just say, "Well, he won a championship. He's been this, San Francisco." I had no idea. So I can understand people not knowing who Matt LaFleur was 3 years ago. And when Mike Holmgren came in, he taught us the winning culture. And he was a control freak without being a control freak. He had guys from 21 to 31 years old. I got to get everybody to think the same to win a Super Bowl after 31 years. It changed my life.
What's the biggest impact that Reggie White had on you? Describe that relationship.
Reggie taught us that it's okay to be saved and talk about it. You can be saved and be a normal person. There's Reggie, put up the beer. Don't curse around Reggie. You can be normal. And I remember him saying, I want guys to go to Bible study. It was crickets. Like, guys ain't doing it. I said, Reggie, I got it. Every Thursday, it's our hardest practice. The guys like to go out and hang out at the bar and just kind of, that's our hardest practice. I said, you got to show up. Reggie White shows up. The guys see him, and it changed. The following week, we had like 57 guys in Bible study. Now, some of the guys opened the Bible upside down, but at least they were there. You got to be like, how's this going to change my life? And what he was doing was what Jesus would do. We got to trust one another. I'm letting you know that as long as I have your back, I will never sleep. When you swipe your key card, one team, one dream. And that's what he was doing. And then we start to win. And it really changed my life to say that it's okay to be saved and be a normal person. And that's what Reggie White changed the whole entire locker room. And he was actually building me to become a leader once he left. And that has a lot to do with it.
What for you, LeRoy, the most important traits in being a great leader?
My mom said this. My mom was amazing. She could write Hallmark cards. I mean, she was great. She said, to be a good leader, you once had to be a good follower. But if you're going to follow, choose the right leaders. And I was like, Mom, that's too deep. I'm only 11. Can you give me the Cliff Notes? She was like, the leaders are policemen, firemen, teachers, principals, construction workers, everybody that work to help people who they do not know. If you're going to work to help somebody and you don't know them, those are leaders. You watch them. The heart of a volunteer is unbreakable. I'm volunteering to help people. My first new shirt was from the Salvation Army. I've never had a new shirt where I popped the tag. I got it from the Salvation Army. So she was just telling me about leadership and learning and how to be network, because I was special needs. But she said if you're funny and you're very measured, most people won't even know that you're disabled. To me, that's leadership. And leadership means being accessible and being approachable. And I think that's very important. So I learned that because when Reggie left, I was the assumed leader, and I thought I did a pretty good job.
You and Reggie anchoring the defense. Got to talk about that young quarterback, number 4. What will you remember 30 years down the road? We're here again. Something you will never forget when I ask you about Brett Favre forever.
He never missed a game. And I'm telling you, a couple times, you probably should have. I remember his ankle was the color of a crayon box. It was yellow, green, silver, purple. I said, dude, you can't play? Roy Lee, there's nothing wrong with my arm. He had a broken thumb on the right hand. You can't play. Why not? That's just a thumb. I'm playing. And I remember every time I saw number 4 getting dressed, I said to myself, we got a chance of winning. Brett never cared about, I bet you he didn't even know how much money he made when he played. He loved it. And I remember I had to move some boxes. He gave me his keys. I moved the boxes because he had a flatbed truck. I filled it up. He got upset with me. He said, man, why'd you put gas in it? I said, that's what I'm supposed to do. He said, man, I got people put gas in my car. You don't need to do that. Okay. That's the kind of guy he was. I wrote a book about him being one of the best teammates. Because when you're getting traded, when we have Don Mikowski, you got to be built a certain way to understand that sooner or later it'll be your job. But how do you network around the locker room? How does that work? So guess what? Mikowski goes down to Cincinnati. Brett comes in, throws it to Kendrick Taylor. We win the game, and he's off with his career. But if there's the one thing I'll say about Brett, he never missed a game, and he always put his teammates first, always. Now, he does owe me $14 from a golf bet, but that's different. That's different. So he was one of the cheapest guys, allegedly. Just don't tell him I said it. It's okay. But I just remember him just not missing a game, or not wanting to miss a game.
The Cowboys were an Achilles heel.
Yeah.
You get past the Cowboys, you get to a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
What changed? What put you guys over the hump
that's a
to
good
get past
question.
those guys?
That's a great question, because we lost to them in 1995. And I remember the plane, when you're on a plane, you're supposed to sit down until you get to 10,000 feet. Mike Holmgren gets up, and he's walking while the plane is going up. I said, what is he doing? We just lost to the Cowboys. Everybody's like, just head down. He's going through the plane. Next year, we're going to win it. Next year, we're going to win it. Next year, we're going to win it. He touched everybody, every row. I mean, the stewardess was like, I'm just Mike Holmgren. He do what he wants. Because he's like 6'5", 6'6". Next year, we're going to win it. And when we got off when we landed at Austin Straubel Airport, that was the only thing on our mind. Just winning it. So we went through training camp, we're going to win it. That's all we talked about. Let's just get to the championship game. Let's win it. And when we beat Carolina, I'll never forget this. I saw a sign that said, 30 years of misery has ended. We're going to the Super Bowl. I got emotional. I said, 30 years? The first 2 Super Bowls, then it was a drought. So that team, which we celebrated 25 years ago last year, had the #1 offense, defense, special teams, coaching staff. And Mike Holmgren was amazing. The night before the Super Bowl, Edgar Bennett was my roommate, and I like it a little bit warmer. He likes it a little bit colder. He wakes up at 1 o'clock in the morning, puts it at 62, air conditioned. I wake up 30 minutes later and put it at 75. We did that all the way to 6 o'clock in the morning, didn't get very much sleep. But when we woke up the next morning, you felt it was a new day for the G. And today, that G stands for greatness, because our fans were so amazing. I don't know how they found out where our hotel was, because we were trying to throw them off. And then Ron Wolf said, just tell them. I mean, we're here to win. And that game changed my life. It really did change my life.
What do you remember most from that Super Bowl championship?
Well, other than getting the best sack of all time, myself, I just remember going in, and it's a few rules that you can't do now, like take your helmet off. And I remember Brett threw the first touchdown, he took his helmet off, he's running around the field, and Parcells, that's a foul, that's a foul. That's an unsportsmanlike, and the referee's like, nope, nope. But at one point during that game, if you have the VHS tapes, the kids are like, what's a VHS tape? Don't they download? This was 1997, I apologize. If you see that, in that game, towards the second half, I get everybody together, tell them just keep doing what you're gonna do, because the momentum has changed. Reggie White dominates, gets 2 sacks in a row. Doug Evans makes a great play, and then Desmond Howard took over the game. Super Bowl MVP, took over the game. And I remember after that game not being able to move because I saw Lombardi's name on that trophy. I was like, I remember being a kid wishing one day I could be on the top bunk bed, be in the Super Bowl. That's what's the Super Bowl for me, because I was disabled. But when you win that trophy, that's when grown men actually cry. Now, there's a couple other reasons a guy would cry. I'll be happy to tell you if you want to know.
I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, one reason a guy will cry, if you watch that movie, Old Yeller. Another reason a guy will cry if you watch the Titanic, when Leonardo DiCaprio is frozen on his boat, he tells this girl, I'm not gonna pull you down, I'm gonna let go so you can live. Bye, Leonardo. I wouldn't have done that. The next one, this is very emotional. Guys will cry. If you get a raise direct deposit and your wife don't know about it, I can finally buy that nice 30-06 gun to go hunting with my friends for 10 days in the woods, and she won't even know. But as you know, all girls in HR, her friend is going to tell her, your man just got a raise. Oh, he did. And winning a Super Bowl. Guys were emotional. They were, think about every team wants to win that trophy, but our name is on it, Lombardi. Guys were tearing up and just, it was something like hard to describe when your team wins an award. It just meant so much to this small market, the smallest market in the NFL, to be named the Super Bowl Lombardi Trophy. That meant a lot to the city, the state, and everything. I'll never forget that feeling of winning that Super Bowl.
Would you have ever imagined in a million years that jumping into the crowd, the Lambeau Leap, would be what it is today? When did you know you were jumping into that crowd? Walk us through that.
Well, I tell you what, I'd like to tell you some cool story, but no, it was all spontaneous. But I remember that particular game because it was the coldest game in my career. And I really thought, this is a true story, I thought that they were going to forfeit the game. I said, it's too cold. My refrigerator is 32 degrees, and that thing says minus 16 with the wind chill. I said, guys, what's wind chill? I had no idea. And then somebody gave me some pantyhose to put on to keep you warm. Then I said, women have been keeping this secret for thousands of years. So we're putting these things on, and then Reggie White, 6'5", 300 pounds, walked by. I said, oh. I said, Reggie, ooh. He said, what? I said, you got to run in yours. I'm dead sure we got a pantyhose to stay warm. And I caused a fumble, as you see. And when Reggie picks it up, now God is good, because when you watch the leap, you'll see Tony Bennett, not the singer, by the way. It was a linebacker we had, Tony Bennett. Nobody got that joke unless you're 50 and up. Bryce Pop, y'all remember Bryce Pop? They fall on the way to Reggie. They fall. I don't know why God made me stand up. And I ran towards Reggie, and I said to myself, he's not going to lateral it, because Mike Holmgren told any defensive player, if you get a lateral or a fumble or an interception, don't lateral the ball to another teammate, because you'll drop it. We have bad hands because we're on defense. I said, he's going to do it. I get it. I'm running down the sideline. I was so excited. It's my first ever touchdown. And I remember running towards the crowd as I'm running down. Those people were like, why isn't he stopping? Right about there, they're like, what is going on? And then I said, I'm going to jump, and it was all spontaneous. And I think it's the best celebration because you need the fans. Without the fans, I'm going to hurt myself on this frozen wall. But I remember going back, and a few years later, Robert Brooks made a song about a jump in the stands, and it blew up. Yep. And I remember the president of the United States, he comes over a few years later, and he's Bill Clinton. He comes in, and he's in Lambeau Field. I say, Robert, do you have the CD? He said, yes, give it to me. He gives me the CD, a jump in the stands. The president is not supposed to take anything from anybody. I said, Mr. President, my boy here, come here, Robert, wrote a song about the Lambeau Leap. He said, what's the Lambeau Leap? Secret Service. Y'all did not tell him about the Lambeau Leap? They were like, no. I said, here's the CD. He takes it, puts it in his jacket. It blew up. It blew up. And I have the 3 best leaps of all time, if you want me to rate them for you, real quick. Number 1, now I'll go number 3 first. Number 3 is Jordy Nelson. And the reason why, because the girls love Jordy Nelson. It's the only leap to where guys back up and let women come down to high five Jordy Nelson. Number 2 was Ahman Green. It's kind of a tie between Ahman Green, but Ahman Green. Number 1 is a tie. 1B would be Donald Driver. He's the only guy that could jump and turn and sit on the wall. But number 1 best leap is Robert Brooks. Robert Brooks was brilliant. He knew where to jump. Because some people are not paying attention. Because they're drinking beers and eating brats. They're not really paying attention. But he knew where the fans were, and of course he scored more than anybody. So Robert Brooks is all-time the best Lambeau leaper ever.
Hard to argue that. I know, LeRoy, you only have a couple more minutes left. Some rapid-fire stuff for you.
Okay.
Hardest quarterback you ever prepared against? Best opposing quarterback?
Steve Young. The guy was brilliant. He was amazing, and he was fast. And I remember real quick, we were mic'd up for NFL Films. He said, Blue 23, LeRoy, I know you're blitzing. Did he just say? No, he didn't. Pointed to. We're mic'd up. So I'm like, Reggie, flip it. Like, go inside instead of outside. So Reggie, he heard me. Reggie goes in. I come outside. I sacked him. And he said, I bleeping hate you. I said, Steve, we're mic'd up. He said, oh, yeah. So Steve Young was amazing. He was amazing.
Who was the most elusive running back?
Barry Sanders.
Barry Sanders?
Barry Sanders was like, if you're in the bathtub with a bar of soap, you got it and it's gone. Oh, I got it and it's gone. Barry Sanders was the man. And then, if you were lucky enough to tackle him, good tackle, Roy Lee. Is this reverse? No, it was a good tackle. And he'd go back. He wouldn't spike the ball, nothing. The guy was amazing. He was amazing.
Hardest collision you've been involved in?
Oh, that I remember. We're in County Stadium playing the Dolphins. And Dan Marino's the quarterback, and I blitz off the side, and as I'm blitzing, the guard sees me and try to cut me off. And the 3 of us collided and hit heads. And I saw that play on film because I didn't remember it. And that was my last play that game. 2 weeks later, I get pneumonia and missed 3 weeks. So I'll never forget that hit, but watching it, had to have protocol for concussion then, I don't think the 3 of us would have played for a long time. Because we were just laying there like, what happened? And I remember, and one of the linemen was saying, you just kept telling the referee it wasn't your fault that this happened. Oh, that sounds like LeRoy, it wasn't his fault. But yeah, that was the hardest hit, yeah.
What are you most proud of?
That I played for one team. That's it, I mean, when they put my name up there for being in the Hall of Fame, it's very rarely you see a guy, one team. I took 3 pay cuts. I don't know if it was smart or not, but I took 3 pay cuts to stay because I wanted the fans to know I love them and I appreciate them. And that's what I'm most proud of. All my football cards got a green or white jersey.
That is the perfect way to end it. It's going to be hard to top that. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy that in August. Think about your mother. That'll be a very special night.
Thank you very much.
The Shields Nice Guy Award, LeRoy Butler, Hall of Famer.
Thank you so much.
Please subscribe to the channel, give this video a thumbs up, and hit that notification bell so you'll get notified when we post another great episode or interview. Download the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you for your support.